I was working at a company where I was working as a system administrator, as other things as well, and we had a mail server, an external mail server with a web interface, but people were also downloading the files, the emails, using a POP3 account. And obviously, as usual, disk space was limited, so my task was, one of these tasks was to create some reporting system that will alert me or alert the boss of the company when the disk space is low, and then to report who are the topmost offenders, so who are not deleting large emails or attachments or whatever. So that was the task, and this is the little Perl script that does the work. So I start with use strict and use warnings, and I'm going to and this one I was using mail send mail, and the files is df portable that we saw earlier, that will be able to fetch the disk usage statistics. There were a couple of hard-coded variables. So there is the report to boss limit in bytes. So in the var spool mail directory, there's every user has his own file. The emails are stored in that file. For every user has a file, and we set a limit. If someone exceeds this limit, which is 1 million bytes, then we'll report that user to the boss. And we also have this variable report to user limit, which actually I think is not in use, but that was a lower limit here. And that will let the user get an email when he exceeds the limit. So there is a threshold between the two. So when you can still clean up your mailbox before the boss gets alerted that you are using too much disk space. And then the hard-coded email of the boss, where the email is being sent from, so what will appear as the from address, and a limit of what percentage of disk space, above what percentage of this space we would like to get an alert, or the boss wants to get an alert. So how does the script work? We'll have a hash in which we are going to keep the sizes of these files. So basically every mailbox is a file in the var spool mail directory, and I'm using here the glob operator, the old glob operator. So this expression will return all the files, all the things that are within this directory, the var spool mail directory, and for each loop will iterate over them. So the $pass will always have one of the passes in it, one of the email boxes in it. Then I don't exactly remember, there was a save directory there that was used sometimes, and we want to disregard it. And then there was also a .pop probably file that was a temporary, it was a temporary file used when the POP 3 access, so someone was accessing the system with the POP3 client. So these two were disregarded. So if the pass contains the save or ends, or there is a file that ends with .pop, then we just call next, so we iterate over that, we don't care about this. And then we take the pass, which is the full pass, var spool mail, and the username there, and with -s fetch the size of that file and put it in the file size hash. So the keys are going to be the paths, which are var spool mail foobar, let's say, and the values are the sizes of the disks. So we collected the data of the disks, of the usage data of which user, based on user count, how much space does she or he use. And then we're trying to create a report. So we start with the $txt variable, which is empty. That's going to be the report, and then we're filling up the report with entries of users. So first of all, we have to go over the hash that we just collected. So there's this hash file size. Let's go over. That's we fetch the keys, and we go over the keys, but we want to sort it. So in the report, we want to make sure that the topmost reported entry is the largest user of the mailbox. So it won't come randomly as would just fetching from a hash happen to bring the names randomly. So we want to sort them according to the size, and that's what we have here. So here we have sort. You see there we have the sort function, and then we have a block that will allow us to sort, or let the sort function sort the keys according to the size, according to the value of that key. So $A and $B will get the two values that they're currently compared, and then you see they are in the opposite direction, so it will be in a decreasing order, and then we are comparing the actual values of these two keys in that hash. So we got back here the sorted keys according to the size in a decreasing order, and then we go over that, iterate over. It's the for each. So pass is always containing var, spool, mail, and stuff. I just copy the variable here and remove the beginning of it. I could have done it with a substring call. For some reason I was using here a substitution. So $name is going to contain only the username, which is just the end, which is after the mail part. And then we add this. So we have, first of all, we check whether the size of this pass is bigger than the report to boss limit. So whether we have to report to the boss. And then if it's bigger, then we assign, so attach to concatenate to the .txt, add more string, and this is the additional line that we add. So we add in the name, then we add two tabs, and then take the size, that's actual size, divided by 1 million, it's more or less 1 megabyte, and take the integer part, so it's going to be reported in megabytes. And we add it to the txt, which started out as empty. So by the time we got to the end of the for each loop, we filled the txt with all the lines that were offending, that were bigger than the disk space. The disk usage was bigger than what the report to boss limit, so what the boss wanted to see. And that's one thing. The other thing is that we wanted to check whether the total usage of the disk is under a certain percentage. So we had two disks in that machine, two partitions, slash and slash boot. There was two partitions. So this is the list of the disks, and then I go over with a for each loop. So my disk, the $disk will always contain one of them, either slash or slash boot. Calling df portable on it with a size, a unit size of 1k, would return a hash, a reference to a hash with information about that disk, and the per parameter, the per key in it, provides the percentage used. So we're checking whether that percentage is bigger than the disk space percentage parameter we had earlier. If it's bigger, then that's again a problem. So we are using too much disk. The overall disk usage is above the threshold that we wanted, and so we add that to the report as well. So that's it. Now, when we arrive to this point, txt, the $txt either contains some report parts, so use people who are offending or too much disk overall usage, or it's empty if no problem happened. If there was no problem, no extra disk usage. So we are going to report it, send the email only if there is something to report. So that's why we check whether if $txt. So if none of the users were offenders and the disks were not used too much, then the $txt is still empty, so it's going to be still false. In case we want to report, then we put some prefix to the tag txt. So we take the content of the $txt and put some text in front of it, and then put it back to the $txt. And then we call the sendMail function of the sendMail module, providing it with a to address. The from address was the subject, which for some reason I just attached the local time to it, and then the txt, which is the message. And that's it. So that's the whole script. I would normally put it in a cron job every hour or once a day, and it will send an email to the boss if there are users that are using too much email, which are usually the boss. But anyway, and if the overall usage is too high.